Hello again and thanks for joining. So something a little bit different for this channel. We've got two truck models to have a look at, but they're both in HO scale. They're boxed differently though. The one on the top is from AWM Automodel and the other one is from Albeldo. But they do look very similar, and the trucks as well are typical European style trucks which have a trailer. The green one at the top has a very clear branding from Hartgartner, and the one at the bottom has the Thyssen Combi Box loads. So these models would come in really handy on your model railway. So let's get these open and we'll take a look at these two trucks. So here are the two trucks out of the boxes, and you can see that they come with a wealth of extra little parts to add on, little wing mirrors and various bits and pieces. Both of these two trucks have swap bodies on them, and the green one here has these little landing legs which can be added on to support the body when it's not on the chassis. First impressions are that they are very detailed models and they look really great, but let's have a look at them closer up. Let's start off with the green one. So one thing's for sure with this truck, it is actually very fragile because it's got a lot of detail on it and it's very finely moulded. This one is obviously a Mercedes Actros truck with a V8 engine, and the details on the front of the truck are really quite impressive. It's got this really great grille moulding there with the Mercedes badge picked out in silver, and the printing on it is really crisp as well. You can see through to the radiator behind as well, which is really quite neat, and the lights are really cool as well, and almost like the lights are shining on it. It's got a wind visor up here above the window, which is flush fit glazing. It's even got windscreen wipers, and the printing extends around the edges of the cab. It doesn't fare too well on the little panel gaps here, where it doesn't quite go all the way in, but that's not too bad at all. We even have a door handle there in an extra piece that's been added in. You can see a bit of a difference between this part here in plastic and this part here, where the green is a slightly different shade. On the roof we have a little sun hatch and the wind deflector as well. The cab does tilt forward just a little bit. Looking down the side of this truck, there's a lot of detail here. These crash bars are really fine. The grille here is really good with the Mercedes logo on it. The wheels are also very detailed, as are the tyres. There's a couple of places, like just at the bottom of this tyre, where you can see a moulding mark. The body of this is quite plain on the side and therefore it's quite shiny. You can see the light catching it there. But the printing on it is really good. We've got some ridges on the top as well, and some tie-down straps all the way along here. And then we have this silver part printed on the bottom, which has been very nicely done as well. There is a bit of overspill just here on this part where the silver has gone over the green. Twin axles at the back, but this is just a single wheel, as is prototypical. And there's even some rivet detail there on the mudguard as well. Around at the back we've got some red lights at the back of the truck, and we've got the coupling for the other trailer. The body has got bracket detail and some more printing as well as the logo. This isn't that well defined, but it's not too bad at all. Underneath the chassis has got a whole wealth of detail, the extra tyre there, some tanks that are being added in as extra pieces, and the engine and drive shaft has all been faithfully reproduced there. The body just pulls off of the chassis. You can see the underbracing there, but it does have some moulding marks. It has these handy little studs which can attach to this chassis on this truck, or they might even attach onto a railway wagon. The landing legs here are separate pieces which have been added in, and they can be swapped for the extra parts that we saw. And with the body off, you can really see the detail on this chassis. It's really fine and all absolutely accurate, which is really quite impressive. And you can see the engine there now quite easily. There's even a wealth of detail on the back of the cab, but we do have a moulding mark at the top here. But it does have this air stack, which is quite cool. The trailer has a very similar body, but it's slightly shorter. It's got this part which articulates around. The wheels revolve, but not too free rolling. It's got a spare tyre there as well, and these crash bars which are moulded in very thin plastic. And around the back we have again the lighting and even these little markers which have been moulded in, which is really quite cool. So a nice little model, this one. Not very heavy, but really quite detailed and very fine moulding of the plastic. Let's have a look at the other one. So there's no missing that this is a Renault truck. Very similar to the Mercedes in that we've got the silver Renault badge picked out there on the grille. And it's got very similar lights as well. Not quite as well done as the Mercedes, but certainly very reflective and quite cool. The grille is also a nice moulding, as well as these little parts on each side of the bumper. Again, flush fit glazing, windscreen wipers. This one's smoked and you can see inside we've got an interior. And we've also got a sunroof as well on the roof. The side of this one isn't quite as detailed again as the Mercedes, and that could be indicative of the slab-sided Renault design. But we do have some handrails moulded in here, and it comes down to this black part here which has been moulded in plastic with the steps coming down. And the wheels and tyres are also very good on this model. Looking further down, we've got a crash bar here, again in very thin plastic, and a spare wheel underneath. And we have the similar setup with the twin axles at the back, but just one wheel at the back here. The Renault differs to the Mercedes because we've got drive all the way to the back on this one. But you can see the drive shaft all the way to the engine and even the suspension here of the front axle. At the back, very similar, we've got red plastic here representing the lights. And this one has a ribbed container which is moulded in white, and it's looking not too bad at all. It's got some detail on the back here, but it's not that well defined. But what is quite good is the printing. They've managed to get the main logo printed into the crevices of the ribs on the side of this body, no problem at all. It doesn't fare too well on the logo here though. So this part here has just come away. It doesn't seem to be fixed at all. It does have two little lugs here which fit into holes in the chassis, but it's a very loose fit and it just pops out, so that could do with a little bit of glue just to hold it in there. The cab of this one tilts much further forward than the Mercedes, and you can see the engine there, which has been moulded in silver plastic. And on the back of the cab there's some ribs and the air stack as well. It's a very good moulding, and I would say this is an excellent little truck, but having seen the Mercedes, I actually think it's a little bit better than this Renault. The container seems to have something rattling about inside it. I'm not sure what's happened there because you can't actually take that part off, but it seems to be attached to this chassis part, and the landing legs are just an integral piece of plastic, so you don't have any option to change those. The trailer is very similar. It's got the same body as we've seen already. This part moves as well. It's got the same kind of wheels and tyres, and another crash bar which has been moulded a bit thicker than the Mercedes one and a bit stronger as well. This also has something rattling around inside it, and at the back we don't have any plastic here, we just have printing of the red and the orange. The lights on this side aren't faring too well, the printing isn't so good on that, but the logo up here has been printed really well. So overall it's another good model, I think. Let's put these on the scales and see how much they weigh. So the Renault weighs 48 grams and the Mercedes slightly heavier at 52 grams. So these two truck models are both very good and they're very similar as well. But there are some differences which make me think that the Mercedes is just slightly better out of the two. The Renault seems to fall apart quite easily, whereas the Mercedes seems to hold itself together a lot better. And I think it's got a lot more detail on the chassis as well. And also the cab has got a lot more detail and I think looks better overall. But both these trucks would look great as scenic accessories. They're obviously not meant to be played with, they're just meant to be set down and left. And as such they work really great in that role. So if you have a modern image, European or even British railway, you couldn't really go wrong with either of these two trucks. But my winner out of these two is the Mercedes, but that's just what I think. What do you think about these trucks? Do you have a favourite? Do you prefer the Renault? Either way, let me know in the comments below. Love to know what your thoughts are. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps this channel grow. I'll put my winner, the Mercedes, on the turntable so you can see all the way around. And in a moment, you'll see a link to another video. Just click on that and I'll see you there. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. See ya.